What if I told you there was a boot manufacturer that's been around for 35 years and builds boots in the United States and you never heard of them? We're talking about Chinook boots out of Oregon. Chinook sent me a pair of their US made boots for me to try out. At the end, I'll talk about who I think they're for and whether or not you will see them on my feet regularly. I made a list of 10 things that I like and 3 things that I really don't like about them. The first thing I like is that they are building boots in the United States and they sell at a competitive price. Not only that, I do have a discount code, and I do want to let you know I have zero affiliation with them other than them sending me the boots. When you use this discount code, I get zero for it. The second thing I like about these boots is they are extremely lightweight for a work boot. More on that later. The third thing I like is I think that they're pretty darn good looking. I selected these out of any of them. They let me know that they wanted to send me a pair of boots, and when I went on their website, I saw Made in USA, and not only that, I liked how they looked, so this is what I selected. Check that out. The fourth thing I like is that there is a composite safety toe and electrical hazard safety ratings on them. There's times when I really ought to be wearing safety toe boots, but I don't because I'm wearing my Pacific Northwest heritage style boots. More than a couple times have I dropped a piece of firewood or wood round on my toe thinking, man, I really ought to have a safety toe. The fifth thing that I like about them is how the toe is protected by this rubberized plastic toe cap. I do have another pair of boots with something like this, and it's my Hikes boots, and that toe cap seems a little more fragile. In fact, it seems like it's very abrasion sensitive, where I think that this ought to hold up if you're crawling around on concrete or flooring or in the dirt. This seems like it's a good quality hard material that should wear really nicely. The sixth benefit of these boots is that they are labeled waterproof. I'm not going to test them. I'm not going to stand in any standing water with these boots, and I have more opinions about that I'll share later. The seventh thing that I like about these boots is that there was zero break-in period. I put them on my feet. They felt like tennis shoes. The leather is extremely supple, and there was zero hot spots. The eighth thing that I like about them is the sizing seemed to be accurate for what I would purchase athletic shoes in. That can sometimes be difficult with different manufacturers, and it can vary from model to model, but these boots in particular, the 8-inch Made in USA laced Chinook boots, fit perfectly as I would anticipate them to. And just a reminder, this is not a long-term review. We'll talk about that later, but the ninth thing that I like about them is the assembly and how they're made. All the stitches line up extremely well. Everything seems lined up. The quality seems extremely top-notch. And the last thing that really stood out to me was the sole of these boots. I think they're darn cool looking, but the main thing is they're extremely grippy, and I think that the rubber probably strikes a good balance between durability and grip. I've had some boots before that when you walk around on like a hard surface, it sounds like you're walking around in like a high heel because they like click on the ground. These boots seem to be very quiet as I was walking around the house on the concrete floor, but otherwise I've been wearing them outside exclusively in the dust, in the dirt, and on a side slope. So far, I'm very impressed. As always, you can count on me to share my full opinion about what I think about the product. I've only worn these for a couple work days, so I don't have an extensive time frame on them. You could go do a 40, 50-hour work week in them and find something extremely different from my experience thus far. This is just kind of an initial review to make you aware of this brand and what kind of options there are at an affordable price, and we'll get to that later. The first thing that I really dislike about this boot is that my feet felt like they were in a plastic bag all day. I am an extremely sweaty guy here in humid Oklahoma, and yesterday I wore them all day, cutting timber, winching the logs uphill, pulling brush, clearing land, and I was outside for a long time. I sweat profusely, and the weather was a little cooler than normal. I do wear wool socks, and wool socks are key to me for good foot health, and I'm so glad I did because when I pulled my foot out of these boots, they were like a prune. It looked like I was in a swimming pool all day long. That could be a me problem and not a you problem based on your climate, where you work, the humidity levels, and whether or not you even sweat. There's people that don't even sweat in high heat, and I am jealous. I mentioned earlier that the leather was very supple and there was no break-in. I attribute that to a leather that's very soft, but the second thing that I dislike about these boots is they feel very thin. I think that adds to the lightweight nature of it and also comes into play in the pricing of the product. These are far more protective than a tennis shoe is, but they're not the same as like my heritage style boots with super thick leather. However, what that means is no break-in time in a boot that ought to be comfortable from day one. That's a win and a negative. And the last thing I can think of about these boots that I really don't prefer for a work boot and for what I do is a lack of a fully gusseted tongue. This one goes up pretty far, and I have to say there's no saw chips, no sawdust or anything like that in the boot, and I did cut a little bit yesterday, but I prefer to see this gusset come up to more about this location here. I don't like it when stuff gets inside my boots. I view my boot, the inside of my boot at least, to be a happy place for my foot. I don't want stuff inside of there because I do not like having to take off my boot midday to pull out chips. Before we move on to who I think these boots are for and whether or not you'll see them on my feet, I want to show you just how good of a value they are. Remember, I did not buy these and I do not currently receive any affiliate commission off of any sales. They don't even have a way of tracking the sales to me. This company, Chinook Footwear, has almost no subscribers on YouTube. This is a video showing their production facility in Oregon. They claim that they've been around for 35 years, and they also say in this video that you've probably worn a pair of their boots before without even knowing it. They manufacture boots for numerous other companies, and not only that, this video explains here that they have a machine that I think they said they can produce like 1,200 pairs of boots on. It's a German injection molder. Pretty cool process, but they have another one that is for leasing out to another company if you want them to make boots for you. So these guys are not a real big player in the actual branded footwear. Chinook, I had never heard of them until they reached out to me on my TikTok account. These are the boots I picked, and you can see they say Made in USA. They have a really nice selection of heights, colors. If you go to shop, I mean, they've got everything. These are an import style boot. We've got pull-ons. We've got these style of boots. They've got super affordable and really cheap boots that I'm not sure are really much better than what you'd find at other low-end retailers. But that's a good thing because it seems like they have a price point for everybody. I want to mention that if you use that discount code, remember that is not traceable to me. The boot shows $174.99, but then they've got this stupid little thing here, $4.98 for free returns and package protection. That seems like that's a common thing on some of these websites now. I don't know how I feel about it. And I also don't know what happens if you buy the wrong size and you need to return it if you don't add that on. So I would just factor this in at a $180 boot for a Made in USA boot. If you use the discount code TTCreator15, that took off $26.99, and that makes it price before tax of $152.98. For a work boot that is not on clearance, not a second, and it's made in USA, I think that's an extremely competitive price point. Share down below if you think that that's enticing. So who do I think these boots are for, and am I going to be wearing them every day? I don't know about you, but I've done it myself. When I'm doing trade work, when I'm doing electrical work or plumbing, I often wear athletic shoes. It's hard to beat. You've got that old pair of athletic shoes that's just hanging around. They're dirty, they're scummy, they're comfortable still, and your feet just feel good at the end of the day. Now, that's not the wisest decision while climbing all around on ladders, up in an attic, walking around boards with nails in them, and so forth. Also, not to mention, if you drop a 2x4, an appliance, or whatever on your toe, it hurts. I have a tendency to use safety toe boots to set things on that are heavy. I don't know if that's exactly a recommended process, but I do it all the time, and an athletic shoe is certainly not the best way to do that. You're going to smash your toe. So if you have a tendency to wear athletic shoes and you need something more protective but that's lightweight, I think that these are a great option for you. I do not consider them a heavy-duty work boot. I don't know if the brand's going to appreciate that assessment, but the truth is that there are much heavier duty boots in existence, like my heritage style boots from Drew's. Now, those boots are made to be resold, and they're meant to be a well, they're a heritage style boot. They're handmade, they're very thick, they have a much longer break-in period, I should say. And like I said, they can be resold. These are a pair of boots, especially at this price point, that you purchase, you wear, you love, and you throw them away and buy another pair. Hopefully, if you love them enough, they'll still be making them in a couple of years. Don't you hate that when they change something and you don't like the boot anymore? So if you don't want something heavy on your foot that feels more like a tennis shoe than a work boot, or maybe a hiking boot, these might be for you. If you want something made in the USA that's not super expensive, these might be for you. And to reiterate, this is not a long-term review. I cannot speak to how well they're going to hold up. I know some guys get 6 months out of good high-quality boots just because they're hard on things. I know for me, I have a tendency to rotate boots like I rotate saws. I very rarely wear the same shoe twice, even in work boots. I've always tried to have at least two, so one could dry out. I always wear wool socks. I do have wool sock affiliate links down below. I'm a big Darn Tough fan, and I have been enjoying my Camel City Mill socks. Will I be using these regularly? The answer is probably not. At least when it's hot. When the conditions are right, when the conditions cool down, you'll likely see these on my feet more. When I'm splitting wood on the splitter or moving heavy rounds around, you might have a tendency to see them on my feet more. I just can't get over that plastic bag feeling. I don't like it. My Hikes boots that are made in Germany and are more expensive, that company totes some like really nifty ventilation stuff, and they have ability to keep your foot drier, but also keep moisture out. But again, they're extremely expensive, and they're more of like an arborist boot. Another time where you might see them on my foot is when it's just wet outside. When it's sloppy, cold, slushy, or whatnot. In my opinion, having worked outside in the utilities, climbing poles, having to go through streams and puddles and all of that, I prefer a boot that's not waterproof. If water has the ability to get inside my boot, I say bring it on. Wool socks make all the difference in the world. If you've got a good quality boot that fits your foot well and you've got wool socks, I don't mind getting a wet foot, but I do mind getting wet feet when it's cold. Like I said, the last reason you might see these boots on my feet when it's not necessarily the optimal time is when I absolutely need a safety toe, as I mentioned earlier. Safety toes are important. I had been using my Hikes boots for that periodically, but those boots are so nice for climbing in and for just general bucking wood because they offer some level of chainsaw protection. I will probably be wearing these Chinook boots at that point. Let me know down in the comment section if you've ever heard of this company, if you have any experience with them. Keep in mind they have a broad range of products. I'd really like to know your thoughts. Check out that discount code. And again, I want to reiterate, I have affiliate links all over the place, but not for Chinook. So I get 0 if you purchase a pair of boots using that link. Thank you for watching the Okie Woodsman channel, and we will see you on the next one.